Hello guys, I'm playing with a Lego set here that I really like. It's a Firefighter Lego set, well Duplo, the big Lego. And I'm playing with it today because we've been looking at people who help us in the library and in our library classes. And today we're going to look at firefighters. This particular one is fighting a fire in a zoo. Let's have a look, here he comes. He's got the hose pipe here. Squirt some water on. Alright, oh, problem solved. Now, firefighters do an extraordinary amount, of course. They help educate us about how to be safe in the home if there's fires. They help if people have a car crash and they can't get out of the cars or they're trapped in a building. But most famously, of course, they help fight fires. Now, I don't know if you guys can remember, but last week I showed you a way of using your computers at home and the library catalogue to look up additional information. And I've got some exciting news for you because the website that I talked about last week, which was the World Book Encyclopedia, just this week has released a new search tool, a new way of looking for information, which I think you guys are going to really enjoy. Let me quickly show you. I'm going to get to the computer. What you do is you go to the school website, to the resources, just at the top here, go to library catalogue, click on that. Now you're going to want your mum and dad's help for this because there's quite a lot to click through. But go to the Inter-American Academy at the top there. This is our homepage. Doesn't look very exciting, but there's great stuff on it. You're going to be going to the World Book Online Encyclopedia just there at the bottom. But you need to go to the document that I'm going to highlight just there, the external login. That'll give you the username and the password that will enable you to sign into the encyclopedia. Once you've got that information, go to the encyclopedia, and this is where you sign in. There's your login, password you'll get from the document, and you're in. And if you've been to World Book before, you'll notice straight away that there's a new early learning section, the top left, with some other new things as well we'll explore later. But I want to concentrate on early learning, so click on that. And it takes you to this wonderful page that really helps students out who are learning to read and write and who would really appreciate a lot of pictures to help them do research. Look at this, you can flick through all these icons and it shows you lots of different subjects that you can research. I'm very excited about dinosaurs over there. But just for now, we're trying to find out information about firefighters. So I'll click on people at work. It takes you to a whole list of different jobs and people. We're going to click on jobs that protect people because I can see there's a picture of a firefighter right there. It starts off with police officers. We're going to click through until we find the information we're after. There we are, firefighter. So there's about 2 or 3 pages with some short text and lots of illustrations about firefighters. If you click on the speaker symbol, it will read out loud to you. If you click back to the people at work section, look at this. There are some great video clips as well that will give you even more information. This is a great research tool. So yeah, make use of it, see what you think. Right now, it's time for a story. Let's go back and have one. Now, today's story is about a firefighter, but take a look at the cover. Do you notice anything different? What stands out for me is that his uniform looks very different to the uniform we know today. That's because this story takes place about 180 years ago in the 1840s. It's called New York's Bravest. It's written by Mary Pope Osborne with pictures they're painted by Steve Johnson and Lou Fancher. We'll talk a little bit more at the end of the story about this character and whether he's real or not. For now, just enjoy the story. Fire! Fire! Turn out! Turn out! The fire bell rang. Come on, boys, said Mose. Mose was the most famous firefighter in New York City. 8 feet tall, Mose had hands as big as Virginia hams. His arms were so strong he could swim the Hudson River in 2 strokes. When others ran away from danger, Mose ran towards it. Now Mose and his boys rolled out the pumper and headed for the smoke billowing in the sky. They ran past horse stables and wooden shanties. They ran past newsboys crying, "Papers, 1 penny!" They ran past oystermen, roosters and ragmen. Suddenly they came to a halt. A horse-drawn trolley was stuck on the tracks, blocking their way. "I'll take care of it, boys," said Mose. He lifted the crowded car into the air, and then he set it down gently and raced on. When Mose got to the burning tenement, A woman rushed forward. "Help!" she cried. "My baby's in there!" Mose climbed the ladder to the 3rd floor. He hacked the wood with his axe and wedged his body inside. Moments later he appeared, coughing and covered with soot. "He's alone!" the mother cried. "Where's my baby?" As Mose started down the ladder, it caught fire, but Mose leapt through the air and landed on his feet. Then he reached in his hat and pulled out a baby. Thank you, the mother cried. "I'm just doing my duty, ma'am," said Mose. The mother baked Mose all the pies he could eat. To show their thanks, folks always gave Mose food and drink, barrels of cider and coffee, bushels of oysters and potatoes, mountains of beans and eggs. Ragmen gave him their least ragged clothes. Shoeshine boys shined his boots. Everyone knew if they ever needed help, they could count on Mose. For years and years, Mose ran uptown and downtown, east and west, putting out fires in tenements, mansions, factories and stores. One night, the fire bell rang. "Fire! Fire!" An eerie glow lit up the sky. Mose and his boys pulled out the pumper and raced to the piers. A fire in a hotel near the Hudson was roaring out of control. All night Mose ran in and out of the building, rescuing bankers, bakers, shoemakers, dressmakers, preachers and politicians. The hotel burned to ashes, but all the people inside were saved. As the sun came up, Mose's boys picked up to leave. "Wait a minute," one said. "Where's Mose?" The firefighters looked around. They all stared at the burned-out hotel. They grew silent. "I know," one said finally. He must have jumped in the river." "Yeah, that's it," said another. "He must have swam to Jersey." "Yeah, I bet he's having a big plate of beans and eggs right now." "Yeah, beans and eggs. We'll see him tomorrow." "Yeah." But no one ever saw Mose again. It wasn't long before the rumours started. "Did you hear? Mose is driving a mule team in the Dakotas. Mose is mining gold in California. Mose is working in Washington for President Lincoln." For a long time, folks speculated as to Mose's whereabouts. Then, one night, at the firehouse, over a game of checkers, an old-timer put the matter to rest. "You know what?" he said. "Mose ain't in any of them places. Truth is, Mose is right here. He's marching with us in our parades. He's kicking up his heels in our fancy dances. He's skating by moonlight on the ice pond in the park. And whenever we climb our ladders towards a blazing sky, he climbs with us. Whenever we save folks, he saves them too. You see that firefighter? He'll never leave us. He's the very spirit of New York City." Wow, quite a character. I was really curious when I first read this book to find out if Mose was based on a real person. You know what? It seems likely that there was a firefighter in the 1840s by the name of Mose Humphreys, who was famous for being very brave and very strong. I don't think it's likely that he was 8 foot tall or that he had hands as big as Virginia hams, but that's what happens with legends. They start off as somebody real and the stories get bigger and bigger and wilder until they seem like superheroes. People used to love stories about Mose in the mid-1800s, and there were pictures and cartoons and even a really popular theatre show that people used to go and visit to enjoy his adventures. The other thing that's really interesting to me is thinking about firefighting around the time that Mose was working in New York City. We already talked about the fact that his uniform looks very different, but also the fire engine, which they call the pumper in the story. Do you remember? It's a very different machine. Let me see if I can find the picture I'm looking for. Because the pumper, here we are, can you see it here, needs to be pumped by hand. Fire engines today have electrical pumps that pump out the water really fast. But here, the men are having to pump the water by hand to squirt the water up to the building. You can see, I think it appears in the first or the second page. There we are. There they are pulling the cart, the pumper, to the fire. Very different to the fire engines we have today. And look, here's an actual photograph of an old fire pumper that's actually in a museum at the moment. And you can see, when you compare it to the new fire engine just up there in the corner, how very different it is. Hoses are very different too. Back when Moses was fighting fires, they used to be made out of leather, and so they would stay wet for a very long time. These days, hoses are made out of plastics, so that they can be stored wet, and the firefighters don't have to worry about drying them out. Now, of course, hoses that firefighters use are much more powerful than this garden hose. They're so strong, it sometimes needs 2 or 3 people to hold on to them. Actually, I wonder how powerful a jet of water today's hoses can spray. I'll go find out. Hold on a minute. So let's take a quick look on Google. I've just put the question in, how powerful a hose is. My goodness, it can shoot up to 100 feet in the air. That's a building about 9 stories tall. Wow, what a powerful jet of water that is. Okay, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this story and finding out a little bit more about firefighters. Please do use the research tools on the library website, see what you can find out. Meantime, I'm going to continue playing with my fire engine, and I look forward to seeing you guys on another video next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, fire's broken out again. Come on, let's get to it.